And even with the sports, the way that the sport is evolving, you're starting to see a lot more money coming into the sport, right? People can actually make money winning jiu-jitsu tournaments, which that never happened in 2002. I'll tell you that much. There were a lot of broke world champions in 2000.
You won a pickle.
Yeah, exactly. Right? There are a lot of there's a lot of broke world champions in 2002, but today there's a lot of money in it, right? There's a lot of people who they're interested in their child being good at the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Still weird to me, but that's happening. So there's a lot of money in it now. So you get so you have as soon as you get money in a sport, the sport changes fundamentally.
Absolutely.
Right. So what you start to see in the sport is a lot more hyper specific, specialized strategies for winning in that rule set. And pulling guard is a great example of that, right? Because if you want to win in IBJJF rules, the most efficient way to do it is to pull guard and sweep. And it's really not even close. If you add up the points at major competitions that are scored, most of the points, and it's not even close. It's like it's a majority of the points in any given high level tournament that are scored using sweeps. So you score points by pulling guard, right? Because if you got to fight several times that day, right? Fighting for takedowns takes more energy out of you than pulling guard by far. Right. So fighting for takedowns, it's a higher risk of injury. It's a higher risk of tiring yourself out. So you're not 100% for your next fight. If you have an effective guard and you're good at pulling into a technique, you're not just pulling and then waiting for them to start passing. Right. If you're pulling guard effectively and then right into a sweep, right into an attack, right into a submission, that is the most efficient way to win under IBJJF rules. But what that takes away, if you are in a club where they don't really emphasize throws, they don't really emphasize takedowns, they emphasize pulling guard for good reason for a sport, right? Because it's the most efficient way to win, right? If I just want you to win tournaments and my goal is to make you good at winning tournaments, I'm going to teach you how to pull guard. I'm going to teach you how to pull guard and sweep, pull guard and armbar, pull guard and triangle, and that's what we're going to focus on. And that's fine if all you want to do is win medals. But what it's taking away is what I was talking about before. If I pull guard on you, I'm not training to take you down. I'm not training, and you're not training not to be taken down. So there's this whole element of being able to control the street fight, whether we go to the ground, whether we don't go to the ground, whether I put you on the ground and go down with you. None of that is going to be a big part of our training anymore if both of us are being trained to pull guard. So I don't have a problem with pulling guard. A lot of people get really kind of gatekeepy about guard pulling. They say like, oh, it should be penalized or it should be taken out of the sport or you shouldn't be able to do it in certain rule sets. I don't agree with that because I think one of the best things about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the accessibility. If you're banged up, if you got a bad back, if you're just getting older, you got arthritis, whatever it is, you want to compete in judo, forget it. Yeah. It's it's really hard.
It's too dynamic.
Yeah, there's not really a way to play the game of judo in a way that's easier on the body for somebody who is injured or older or anything else. So in jiu-jitsu, because you can pull guard and because you can play the game in a way that avoids the parts of the fight that are hardest on the body, our sport is far more accessible, right? You can have somebody who has a really nasty back injury and they can't fight for takedowns at all, but they can pull guard and they can compete. They can be effective. Agreed. Right? So I don't agree with penalizing pulling guard. I don't agree with taking it out of the sport. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And I really like how accessible it makes the sport. But again, I think you should have to call it what it is. If you're not training throws, if you're not training takedowns, you're not teaching self-defense. So if you want to just teach people how to pull guard and sweep, I get it. That is the most efficient way to go to tournaments and win medals. But if you're going to put on your website that you teach self-defense and your students can't do throws or takedowns and they don't have good throw or takedown defense because they never need to, they pull guard, you're not teaching self-defense. So,
Absolutely.
I don't have a problem with you not teaching self-defense, but don't say one thing and do another. So I think that because there's money in the sport now, because there's specialization now, that's what's being sort of left behind. There's this disconnect now where people just assume that because you're training in a martial art, you're learning self-defense. You're not. So if you just want to be the best competition school in your city and you want to advertise yourself as, hey, you want to win medals, you want to be a world champion, this is where you come. Great. Put that on your website.
Yeah.
Just don't call it self-defense training if it's not. If you're treating it as a sport, just call yourself the best sport coach around for jiu-jitsu, right? So I think that's where the sport has started to really turn the corner. We're not treating the sport of jiu-jitsu as a way to train the macro skills of self-defense against 100% resistance. It's become its own thing.
I agree.